Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Amina, and today we are talking about relationships. And I think like 2 years ago I used to do a series where I talk about random topics and I'll give you like my thoughts, and I'll go through some questions that I asked you guys to give me, and we'll talk through a few of my sort of thoughts and my advice based on my experience. And I think I did one about like finance and money, and I did another one about like traveling solo, and yeah, all these different topics that I feel like were quite interesting, but they're not necessarily like education related. So I thought I'd bring them back. So if you do have any topics that you want me to discuss, then do leave them in the comments down below and I'll write them down. I'll save them so I can add them to my list. I've got a long list now. But today we're talking about relationships, and I thought this is quite a good one because we all have relationships, be it colleague, work relationships, marriage, siblings, parents, friends. Like there are so many relationships that we have in life, and we're constantly navigating them and we're constantly working through them and setting boundaries. And I feel like it's quite relevant now as well because, well, all of us really, because of COVID, because of the past year, we haven't really had a chance to like interact socially. And I feel like some relationships have strengthened as a result of that because we've spoken more online and like we've made the effort to actually keep in touch. Whereas other relationships I feel like have broken down because maybe it was one-sided, or maybe it was dependent on like doing things outside or being part of a group. And then also for me personally, on a personal level, you know, having a child, that throws a whole new span into the works. And so some relationships have strengthened because quite a few of my friends had kids at the same time as me, and so you know we have a lot to talk about now. And then other relationships whereby maybe we're just in different parts of our life now, they've broken down, or not broken down, but like they've just come to a halt because we no longer have that kind of thing in common. I think it's quite hard for me personally. It's quite hard to keep up when I'm constantly running after a 1-year-old, and then when I'm done with him, when he goes to sleep, I'm just like I'm shattered. So yeah, I think for me the key thing about relationships is for it to be balanced, and this for all relationships, not just marriage, husband, friend. I think it's important for there to be a balance between the two. It should never be one-sided. It should never be I'm the only one messaging you, or I'm the one that's always asking you to go out. It should never be one-sided, because that's when people get resentful. And like, I'll be completely honest, I've lost so many friends because of that. I have lost so many friends because I've been the one that's constantly like, let's do this, let's do that, hi, how are you? And then it gets to the point where it's like, I don't care anymore. I've actually just given, I actually don't care anymore. It's quite sad because, you know, is it sad? I don't know if it's sad. Let me know if you think it's sad. But I think sometimes friends come into your life and people come into your life for a season. You know, you get to know them and they add value to your life at that time. They might be a close friend that you travel to school or college or work with. They're just great fun because of that journey. And then now that you're both in different parts of your life, you no longer have anything in common with them. There's no need for you to continue contacting them. And sometimes it really is just you trying to cling on to that past. If I think about friends that I had late teens, early 20s, a lot of those friendships were obviously quite good friendships, but then we're now on completely different paths, and I just don't see how we would relate anymore, what we would do in common. Whereas back then it would make sense, like I would totally go to the places that we used to go to, but now I wouldn't. I'm just not that person anymore. And sometimes I still see those people do those things on social media and I'm like, that's you know, I passed that. I think it's not a bad thing. I say it's sad because, you know, that is a part of your life that you have passed, but then again, it's not a loss if you've learned. I think every experience should be a learning, be it a good thing or be it a regret that you're like, I've learned that I'm not going to do this thing again, or I've learned that this is a good thing for me. So let me know your thoughts. Like, have you lost a friend? Have you ever lost people in your life? And if yes, then what was the reason for it? Was it just like drifting apart? Was it you growing? Was it them changing? I've never had an argument. I've never had like a fight or anything like that with anyone, like never, ever. That's just not my style. I think the way that I've lost friends is just through like drifting apart. So you kind of just like message once a month and then once a year and then never again. That's how I've lost friends. In terms of like other relationships, I have 3 sisters and a brother, and I think our relationship is quite different to your average sibling relationship. Never had an argument. I mean, no one's gonna believe me if I say this, but we actually have never had an argument. Maybe when we were like 5 or 6, obviously we've had fights and stuff like that, but like we've never had an argument as a teenager or as an adult. Never. We've never fallen out, none of that stuff. And I know that's quite unusual for siblings because I just feel like siblings have to fight, and I've heard of siblings like calling the police on each other. Like, that's manic. We're just not like that. Like, none of us are really hot-blooded like that. I mean, you guys have seen how I am, right? That's how all my siblings are. We're all the same. And I think we're just quite like lovey-dovey. And it's funny because when my cousins came over from Australia and even ones from Canada as well, they came over and they were like, you guys are so weird. You come home and you hug each other and you like say hi and you kiss each other and like you actually like each other. And you know what? I think my parents really fostered that love in us from a very young age, and they would never accept us or like arguing with each other. Average kids, siblings would fight. Most parents would just like brush it off and be like, oh yeah, they're just siblings. But with our parents, like they would make a really strong point about like, you guys cannot fight. You have to stick to each other. And I think the reason for that is because we have no other family here. Like we have very distant relatives, but no cousins, no aunties, no uncles, nothing at all like that. A result of that is we grew up very alone. We had a lot of people around us, but it was like neighbors, family, friends, but it was never blood. Because of that, our parents always kind of wanted to make sure that we were, stuck together. We were very close. They've seen broken families before and they don't want us to become like that. And so they were really strict with us being friendly to each other and like loving. And whenever we celebrated each other, so let's say for example, when my sister got into medical school, we paid for all of us to go to Paris for the day on the Eurostar. So all of us, like my siblings, my parents, everything. And my parents were so happy about that. Like they get happy when we treat each other because they see that as a sign of love and they see that as a sign of that we care for each other somewhat. So yeah, I think in terms of that relationship, that's kind of where I stand. And I'm not the best at keeping up relationships in terms of friends and things like that. I'm not the best because I tend to just have so many things on my plate, and I'm not saying that no one else does. I know you make time for what you prioritize, but you know what, maybe I just don't prioritize friendships like that. Maybe it's just not something that I see as important because I have my siblings so close to me. I don't necessarily feel like I need more people in my life. And honestly, when I've had like a bunch of friends, I've just found it more stressful than anything else. I'm always on time, no one else is. Like, I don't know. Let me know how you feel, what your thoughts are about like friendships and things like that. I feel like I value friends and I value that relationship, but at the same time, sometimes I feel like it's more stress than not. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Anyway, I'm gonna go through some questions right now. I asked you guys to like let me know what we talk about, and I will go through a couple of questions. And the first one is how to keep up with relationships. For the most part, I'm gonna talk about like it's friendships for the most, or to be honest, let's just say all relationships. I would say to be as consistent as possible and to keep as much contact with that person as possible. Like I said, just to make it as two-way as possible. Always show them that you care, always show them that you're there for them, always be there for them, show yourself for them, support them. That's one way to keep up relationships. I'm not the kind of person that has to speak to someone every single day, but when I do speak to you, I will applaud your success, I will be happy, I will shine with you and for you, and I'll always show you off. And that's how I keep up my relationships, just by, I guess, being as supportive as possible and also showing the person that I'm always there, even if I'm not physically there every single day. Someone said, how do you navigate dating within your faith? I might do this as a separate video, like dating. How do I navigate dating? When I was getting to know my husband, I would just meet him in public. So we got to know each other in May, in a year of May. It was like summer, literally the whole time we were getting to know each other, it was in the summer. So we'd go to like cafes, we'd go to the park. We didn't go anywhere else. No cinema, no restaurant. Like we didn't do any of that kind of stuff. We wanted to be in an environment. No, we went to a restaurant I think once, twice. We literally go to environments where we could actually get to know each other and speak to each other. So 99% of the times that we met would be going to the park, going for a walk and just talking, or going to like a cafe and sitting down having afternoon tea. We would just try to talk. In terms of faith, we would always meet in public, and for me that's more than okay. Someone said, what do you like or look for in friends and partners? Honestly, like I look for reliability because I look for what I have. I am very reliable. If I ask you to meet, or we plan to meet on a certain day, a certain time, I will be there 10 minutes before. I will be there on the, like, you don't even have to confirm with me. Like, no one confirms with me. I will be there. One of the reasons why a lot of my friendships have kind of broken down is because people, for the most part, are very unreliable, and I can never be sure that someone's actually going to be there, and I can't work like that. I can't live like that. Like, if I plan to meet up with you on Saturday, I need to know that Saturday is going to happen. You know, obviously things can happen. Like, I'm not saying you have to be there if you're on your deathbed or if something's gone wrong, obviously. But, you know, for the most part, if we're going to meet 10 times, then, you know, 8 or 9 times out of 10, we should be okay. Like, there should be something that happens to you every single time. That's, for me, that's red flag. So for me, like, reliability, one of the reasons why I knew my husband was the one is because when we met up quite a lot in like a short space of time, and there wasn't a single day that he was late. He was on time every single day, and if he was running late, he would let me know, which is absolutely fine. That was something that I admired, because it's quite a rare trait to find these days. Like, people are always late, and it's so frustrating. It's quite disrespectful, and I think it says quite a lot about how people like how much they respect your time. So for me, I do look for people that are reliable and people that I can like trust to respect my time, because I will always respect your time. Okay, this is a good one. How can you trust that someone is being their truest self and how they present themselves is in alignment with how they are behind closed doors? I don't think you can. You have to just trust them. I mean, how do you guys know that I am how I am on camera? Like, you don't know. I could be the most horrible person in the world. You just have to trust them. And to be honest, okay, if I have to give you an answer for this, I would say look for any like red flags or any repetitive actions. So let's say they say they're such a nice person, or you know, they're so kind, whatever, but every time you speak to them, they're talking about another girl, or they're talking about someone, or they're always backbiting. To me, that's a red flag, because that means if you can talk about someone else, to me, that means you can probably talk about me to someone else as well. And that will show me that actually the person that you're saying that you aren't really, because here you are speaking about someone else. I would say look for the actions that are subtle, like look for the actions that aren't explicit. If they say they're something, they're probably not that thing. Look for what they're not saying. Friendships in your almost 30s, that is me. This is a hard one because I feel like I don't think I've made like a new friend in the past year or two. I've met loads of people online and stuff. That's not really a friend. I wouldn't consider that like a friend. I don't think I've made a new friend in a couple of years. So I can't really answer your question, but it is really tough. I don't find that I can connect that well with work colleagues. We're just not on the same level. And then I meet so many, like especially because what I do with YouTube and everything, I can speak to 20 or 30 girls on a daily basis, like in DMs or wherever. And so I can't be everyone's friend, you know? And so it's quite hard for me to then pick out who I could potentially be friends with. And actually it's quite stressful to think about it, because sometimes I'm like, I speak to someone and we really get on and we really connect. And I'm like, actually, could this be a potential friend? Or is this person just being nice because they genuinely just like me as a YouTuber? So it's quite hard sometimes to have that definition because of, I guess, what I do. It's tough in your 30s because everyone like kind of is in their ways. They're married, they have their kids, they have settled down, and then fitting a new person into their life might be a bit difficult. But if I could make a new friend right now, like I would absolutely love it. Like there's definitely space for a new friend in my life. So it's never too late, for sure. Like it's never too late. I just don't want to go through that process of like making a friend and like drifting apart again. Like I just want to make a friend and just be friends. If that makes sense. The next one is in-laws. This is a good one actually, because I didn't mention relationships with in-laws in my intro. My in-laws, and I'm not just saying this, like my in-laws are really amazing and they are exactly what you would want in in-laws. I can't even say that I did anything to cause that. Like they have been amazing from day one. I don't know what to say, but I think if you are having like problems with your in-laws, be it like your mother-in-law or your father-in-law or like your sisters-in-law, whatever, whoever it is, I would just say to try to put some distance between you, but also to communicate. So if you're living with them, that's probably not the greatest idea. Don't ever speak. That's again not the greatest idea. Just always show them who you are. So that means just sending a message from time to time saying how are you, how are things, getting them like a nice gift. Those are all things that you can do to build those relationships and to maybe help that person see you as different to what they have in their mind. And bear in mind that, you know, in-law relationships, the name is tarnished. So it might not even be you that's the problem. It's just the name of the relationship is the problem. So yeah, definitely consider rethinking how you deal with that relationship, because it's probably just a matter of, like I said, the fact that the in-law relationship is so tarnished. This is a good question. How to separate yourself from a friend that is doing bad things? I think it depends on what you mean by bad things. If the bad thing is affecting me somehow, I'm going out with them and I'm having to deal with this bad thing, then I would 100%, I wouldn't see them again from tomorrow. I'm old enough not to faff around with someone like that. But if the bad thing is, let's say I don't believe in a certain behavior and they're doing that behavior and it's still morally fine, but it's just not something that I agree with, then that's not a me problem. That's just my friend's character. That's not something that I have any say over. But like I said, if it's something that's affecting me and impacting my mental health or like my space, then yeah, change it. I mean, we're old enough, like, come on guys, we're old enough now to not faff around with relationships that are not doing us any good. Communicate. I would just say communicate. Just ask the person why they're doing this, ask them why they feel the need to act this way or to behave in this way. And if you feel like you can't say that to them, then how close are you really? I mean, I don't know. I would probably just step away from the relationship for a little bit. Okay, there are so many about like dating and marriage. So you know what? I'm gonna put those in another video because I think this is gonna be a little bit too long if I do all of them. But I'm gonna do one more. Okay, this one. What is the most difficult part of a relationship? And I'm gonna answer it in the friendship relationship because I probably will answer it in the marriage relationship in another video. And I would say the most difficult part of a friendship relationship is you don't own anyone. It's a different relationship to like a sibling. I feel like with a friendship, the most difficult part is maintaining it. You know, my siblings, I could not speak to them for a month. They'll probably just message me and be like, Amina, are you okay? And I could be like, yeah, just busy, and they'll be absolutely fine with that. They won't take it personally. But with a friendship, I feel like people take things a little bit more like personally. And so the hard thing with a friendship is maintaining that friendship, kind of letting them know, right, I'm gonna be busy this month, or messaging them like intermittently and just saying, hi, like, I hope you're okay. You know, and especially when you kind of change, like let's say for example, I've had a kid now, my friend doesn't. You're in different spaces in life, and so now it's a bit difficult for you to maybe meet up with the girls or go on holiday with the girls. Like, you're in a different space now, and so trying to maintain that relationship that you had before, a bit more challenging, especially if you haven't been friends for like since childhood, and it's not just a given that you're gonna kind of get on with it. So yeah, I think for me that would probably be the hardest bit, like just maintaining it and just keeping it up even when you have busy times, just always letting them know that you're still around, you're still thinking about them, and hoping that they don't take it personally. And I really hope that no one takes my absence personally, because it really isn't personal. It's really just me being me. Let me know your thoughts on this video, and let me know what topics you want to see from me discussed. These are quite chatty. I'm gonna try to find like a bit of a nicer background as well, so we can like talk a bit more. But yeah, hopefully I'll see you in my next video, and don't forget to subscribe and take care.